All right, let's give this a shot and see how it goes. I think this is going to be interesting. I told you at the start of last week that I have been self-censoring myself on some topics, not because of monetization reasons on YouTube, but because of an effort basically to preserve my sanity. I did a long segment last week explaining that I've tended not to take on certain topics because merely broaching the topics is me choosing to deal with 2 weeks of nonsense on my social media feeds and email inbox and YouTube channel. And some of those topics include everything from talking about the squad in anything but the most glowing terms, or talking about Venezuela in anything but glowing terms, or even mentioning Tulsi Gabbard or the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as some examples. So today I'm going to talk about sort of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I'm going to specifically talk about a vote that was taken in the United States related to what is called the BDS movement last week. And yeah, I mean, to some extent, I don't know why I'm doing this, but we will see sort of what the reactions are. I'm making an effort not to self-censor. The reactions to my segment last week were, David, we understand that we may disagree on some issues, but don't self-censor. You will be surprised at actually how people will respectfully engage you on the substance rather than going down the ad hominem anti-Semitic rabbit hole, for example, if you talk about this BDS vote. So let's see how it goes. Let's do it. My only request is listen to what I'm actually saying. If your comment or your response is not based on what I've said, then it's worthless and I'm going to ignore it, okay? Recently, there was a vote in the House of Representatives, H.R. 246, easily passed with both Democratic and Republican support. I believe it's 17 Democrats voted against it, but numerous so-called progressive heroes voted in favor of the bill to condemn the boycott, divestment, sanctions movement against Israel. This includes Ro Khanna, who I know a little bit personally. This includes Ayanna Pressley from here in Boston. This includes Tulsi Gabbard, who voted in favor of the bill to condemn BDS. And it instantly spun some elements of the progressive media sphere into disarray. We've been betrayed. How dare these so-called progressives vote in this way? So let's break it down piece by piece. And again, if you're going to respond with anything that includes, for example, comments about me being Jewish, that is not what I would call a substantive response. If you're going to respond with smears about these elected officials who voted one way or the other, that's not a productive conversation. Let's actually talk about the substance. Let's first start with the premise that I imagine all Democrats who consider themselves even remotely progressive, so this includes people like Ro Khanna and Ayanna Pressley, who voted for the bill, and those who voted against the bill. I believe that we all share the goal of wanting Israel to change its policy towards Palestinians. I believe we're all united against the right-wing government of Benjamin Netanyahu, which I've been talking about my opposition to for years. And I think my progressive audience is basically on board with. So then we get to one element of this, which is the BDS movement. The BDS movement dates back to 2005. Again, it's BDS, boycott, divestment, sanctions. The idea is to force or shame Israel into, I guess, treating Palestinians better as they see it by boycotting Israeli businesses. This includes individuals participating in boycotts. This includes lobbying businesses and even countries or city governments, local governments to boycott Israel. So let's charitably assume in good faith that BDS supporters truly believe that BDS will push the government to change in this respect. My first disagreement with BDS is that I disagree that it will work. It's a pragmatic disagreement. The first bit of evidence is that it's been around almost 15 years and it has accomplished almost nothing. Now, I know people will write to me and they'll say, but David, there have been some localities or some countries, I think Ireland had a vote, where they say we are not going to do business with Israel. And that's true. There have been some academic departments that have said we are going to boycott and divest from Israel. Many of them don't even have investments or business with Israel to begin with. The point is, nothing has changed in terms of policy or in the improving of the lives of Palestinians as a result of the BDS movement. And it's actually stunning, in fact, because they've had a pretty significant PR impact. I mean, again, entire countries speaking in favor of the movement. And yet there is policy we all disagree with, those of us who favor BDS and those of us who oppose it, and none of those policies have changed. Now, there's a big argument that takes place around BDS. Is BDS anti-Semitic? And the answer is, here we go now, listen to what I'm going to say. No, BDS is not inherently anti-Semitic any more than boycotting China is inherently anti-Asian, or boycotting Saudi Arabia is anti-Saudi or anti-Muslim or anti-Arab or whatever. But BDS does provide cover for lots of anti-Semites, again, importantly, without having achieved anything of substance over the last 14 years. BDS's successes include convincing some artists not to do concerts in Israel. It's not doing much for the Palestinian people. I want to do something for the Palestinian people. They've had colleges vote in favor of BDS proposals, the number of which has been declining over the years. That's starting to fade. And meanwhile, from other places, there are record investments in Israel. New Jersey divested from a bank that participates in BDS. Ohio made record investments in Israeli bonds. Intel just scaled up Israeli investment. Dozens of examples. So listen, I get it. This is a tactic that might work. I don't believe it has worked. And I think that we need to go in a different direction. Now, there's another problem, which is that it's very overtly an I'll boycott Israel when it's convenient movement, but not other countries because it's inconvenient. And as soon as it's not convenient to boycott Israel, I won't boycott Israel anymore. So let's go through it. What about China, right? China's human rights abuses are horrible. Who's boycotting China? Well, very few people, because we need those Chinese products, whether it's your iPhone, whether it's other electronics, whether it's clothing, whatever the case may be. It's simply not practical, they say, to boycott China. Boycott Israel is much more practical until, of course, you need the emergency bandage that was used to save the life of Gabby Giffords when she was shot. Are we still for boycotting that and using a subpar product to save a life? I don't think so. Boycott Israel until a family member needs a medical treatment or humanitarian efforts need Israeli products. Boycott Israel until a family member has multiple sclerosis, in which case most people will say, yeah, let's just use the good drug, which is the one developed by the Weizmann Institute and sold by Teva Pharmaceuticals from Israel. So let me be really clear about why I'm mentioning this. I don't want people to forego what is the best treatment because they want to boycott Israel. What I'm pointing out is that as soon as it's inconvenient, the boycott falls. Do you shop at Trader Joe's? Last time I was there, terrific Israeli feta cheese at Trader Joe's, imported, as well as other Israeli products. Are you supporting there, but saying that you support BDS? Because there's an inconsistency. Do you shop at Whole Foods? Whole Foods has actually made a statement where they said, we do not boycott Israeli products at Whole Foods. Well, maybe you go to Stop and Shop if you live in the Northeast of the United States. Wait a second. Stop and Shop has one of the biggest Israeli product selections around Passover, including those really great chocolate-covered marshmallows. So are you actually boycotting, or are you sort of repeating the talking point without understanding what's going on? So the problem with BDS is that it is as ineffective as it is capricious in its application. Okay, you won't buy a soda stream to make your own seltzer, but when the rubber hits the road, most people will abandon their principles as soon as it's necessary or convenient just to go and do the grocery shopping. So in the end, BDS asserts nothing that will promote peace. It has simply failed, and it divides the left. Groups that would be very glad to work together, like, for example, Jewish groups that are for Palestinian rights, for getting rid of the Netanyahu administration, for stopping the settlements, but aren't in favor of BDS, would be able to be working with so many of these other groups if BDS was not driving this wedge between them. So then we get to this vote on HR 246. There are people who thought Ro Khanna was great, as an example, California congressman, until he voted in favor of the bill, and now they are insulting him or saying, well, the reason why Ro Khanna did this is because he supports Bernie and Bernie's Jewish, and clearly Bernie hypnotized Ro Khanna into voting for the bill. Maybe Ro Khanna just assessed the circumstances and decided it made sense to vote for the bill. Oh, David, you're against you're for the bill, you're against it, whatever. Your position is informed by being Jewish. Maybe I just think that this is really a distraction of a bill and that BDS is a wedge that is going to get in the way of us advancing our shared goal of improving circumstances for Palestinians and Israeli-Palestinian peace. What would unite the left would be to say, at its basic principles, we need a president here in the United States who is not going to give divisive gifts to Israel, like moving the embassy to Jerusalem. We need to recognize that the left is in agreement on 95% of this issue. I simply disagree that BDS will work or that it will unite any important coalitions in order to achieve the change that we all want. And sadly, it does also function as a veil for some anti-Semitism for some people. That's my view on this issue. I'm ready for the criticisms. Make them substantive. I'm going to ignore you if it's about me being a Zionist shill or whatever else. That's not serious conversation. I'm looking to actually explain to you why I think this is a movement that has already failed and that there are ways in which we can work together rather than arguing about BDS to improve the lives of Palestinians and Israeli Arabs, and quite frankly, of Jews around the world as well, who don't benefit from the continuation of the status quo. Let me know what you think.